What's up, everyone? This is Joe from Real Talk NFT, where we talk everything Web3. And of course, always my co host, Brian McNutt. I'm really excited today. It took us a while, but we got on DT, one of the co founders of SanFran Tokyo. Welcome, DT. I have so many questions for you. I know we have very limited time, but thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. I know it took some time. Apologies for that, but happy to be here and excited to talk.
Yeah, I mean, two reasons. I'm actually in San Francisco, okay, and I'm actually a holder of SanFran Tokyo. So full disclosure, I owned one and been following the journey ever since. All your announcements about cool. Okay. I'm gonna save that for later. I know I'm gonna talk about cool cats. We're gonna talk about so many things. But before I ruin it, why don't you just give us a quick intro about yourself, about how you got involved with SanFran Tokyo.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Every time I get this question, I always have to think about how far to go back because I don't want to bore people, but at the same time too, it's, I think it helps, helps with a bit of context as to sort of what my background is. But, I, I, I have a comp sci degree, so for me, tech has always been, always been a technologist for as long as I can remember. I think being Asian as well, a bit older than I look. So, I remember the early days of the internet where we had to sort of plug in the dial-up modem and, wait for that ringing noise. And my brother would be sort of storming my room, telling me off because he's waiting for a call from his girlfriend. So all of that, we remember the days. But I think when Web3 came along, when blockchain came along, it really made me realize, okay, this is going to be the next phase. We lived through the internet era. We've seen that we're watching the evolution of the internet as right before our eyes, and it was an opportunity to really take a step into it. And I think that's something that I think many of us in the space just couldn't ignore. With my comp sci degree, I spent about 10 years in corporate, both in Australia and in London. And then when I got back from that, I actually started a business. And over the next 8 years, I eventually grew that business and sold it. And after the exit, I was trying to figure out what was next. It was a funny story actually, because during that phase, after I'd invested in crypto in 2017, read the white paper and was like, okay, this is really cool, but wasn't really still focusing on the business. I never really went deep. And it wasn't until sort of years later after I sold the agency that I was just a bit lost, trying to figure out, okay, well, I've spent so much time in this business, so what's next? And I met a VC actually for lunch, and we caught up and connected. And we after the sort of that lunch, I went back. We tried to connect on LinkedIn, and to my surprise, his LinkedIn profile was a mutant ape, a Macy. And I was like, what is going on? Like this, he's got this ugly ass picture of this, snotty nose ape for his professional profile picture. And then it hit me. I was like, okay, there's got to be more to this because, why on earth would he be making such a bold statement? And that's when I went down the rabbit hole, and haven't looked back since. And so for me, I've just basically known this is going to be the next decade, 2 decades of my life, basically. But that's how I got into Web3. That's sort of how, we're here now building. I'll jump into how I met SFT and the team. But yeah, sort of thought I'd share that first anyway.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear your background and how you actually run successful businesses. Because so much of 2020, all the way up to 2022, even was people that didn't know how to run a business, just throwing out NFT projects, looking for funding, and throwing out a white paper and roadmap and with a lot of empty promises. But you guys are definitely not that. You have some backing from a very big company, Animoca. Can you tell us about how the SanFran Tokyo idea came about? Are you a big anime fan? Was it just a niche that you saw? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. No, it's a great question. So to continue on from the story that I told before, so after that stint, jumping into Web3, I started another agency with a friend. I met the guys at Collection, and we basically hit it off. From that, I basically then just went all in, and we over the course of the ensuing weeks, I was up in Tokyo with Young, who's the other co-founder of SanFran Tokyo, and during that period, we strategically built and designed the whole ecosystem for what it is we're building now. So it was an exciting time because it was around the same time as well. Daisuke Iwase, who's the original co-founder of Collection, and there's the current CEO was actually being appointed as CEO of Animoca Japan. And it was it was like watching us trying to design this ecosystem and looking at all the amazing pieces that we had on the board, like what could we do and build out of all of this. And the company itself had already started pivoting into anime, and as an anime fan as well, growing up on anime too, it was almost like a dream come true. It's like, okay, well, we get to build in a niche, in a subculture that we absolutely just have so much affinity for, and then really try to wrap the technology around it to build something that's going to be impactful. It was a lot of fun, to be completely honest, and really exciting to say, okay, well, if we look at Animoca Brands as a company, if we look at Animoca Japan as a company, if we look at all the connections and networks that we have within Collection as a company, what can we actually build from this? And that's really where SanFran Tokyo was born. And the whole concept around how we could actually affect change was to really look at how we could power anime culture globally through that platform that is Web3.
Yeah, that is a lot. It's a big undertaking. So I guess to set the stage for people looking at this from the outside or not anime fans, what issues, or inefficiencies can Web3 solve? I know that you guys looking to kind of, I wouldn't say tackle everything, but you have a big, there's a lot of things that you guys rolling out.
100%. Yeah. No, that's a really good question too. And I think when I talk about it at high level, it feels like it's a lot. We're trying to take on the world. But I think the exciting thing was really, okay, trying to look at the long-term vision and then roll back and start taking baby steps from where we are. One of the key things, I think, we have two products, I guess, at this point in time that most people are aware of. One is Weebox, and the other one is SanFran Tokyo. San Fran Tokyo, you can sort of think of as like a decentralized city, and we had a Genesis mint for that, which is, you mentioned you purchased late last year. So really thankful for that. But that was an opportunity for us to start to build a community around, anime fans. That was a really big opportunity for us to look at that Venn diagram of Web3 native users and anime fans and sort of understand, can we build a strong community just based on fandom? And I can see some of the figurines that you've got in the background. I'm sure you've got a good collection of figurines at home. But that was really a good foundation for us. And I think that was one thing that we could all really vibe with. The other thing is Weebox. Weebox, you can sort of think of as, as one of our core product pillars, strategic product pillars within the company is sort of like our flagship digi-physical or, phygital pillar. We're focused on anime figurines and collectibles. And as we know, like merchandising is a huge market within the anime culture. With also our network and the opportunity and the reach that we have within Japan, as well as with Animoca Japan, it was the sensible first sort of pillar to try to tackle. And tokenizing real world assets is an obvious way to try to I guess amplify brand affinity, and to add sort of increase perceived value for things that people are already collecting. So
yeah, we see that. Yeah, that's a great answer. And I was a victim of not digital authenticity. I purchased a physical from a mall, believe it or not. That was fake. It was a Naruto figure.
really?
It was an anime figure. So I definitely see the need because I got scammed firsthand buying from a mall that I thought was, you don't buy sell fake things at a mall, but it happened to me. So that's the first thing. Thank you for pushing the envelope forward in that regard. And I see that you're doing a lot of partnerships. Was that thought out? You wanted to do a partnership, or was there maybe some talks of, hey, we want to create our own lore? I know that that's probably maybe still in the works with you guys are launching your own PFP called Visions. There's a lot of questions in there, but yeah, please.
Yeah, no, that is a good question. There's quite a lot to unpack there, and I think from the outside in, it does look like we're trying to do a lot of different things. And the reality is, like, we're trying to build a lot of these puzzle pieces together, and they are going to click together at some point. But two of the main product pillars that we have is one is around original IP. Trying to actually build our own global brand. So having that ability to create our own lore, to have a foundational narrative that can also be wrapped around the brand. It serves two purposes. One, we can build something that we can also then give back to holders, something that we can also then have, as our own IP that we can obviously, grow and leverage from as well. But secondly, it also provides an amazing on-ramp as well to bring other IP into the ecosystem. You know, one of the best ways for me growing up anyway, like, was when I saw IP come together, when you saw crossovers. You know, I think the ultimate peak of the Marvel MCU was when we all watched Avengers, right? Where everybody came together and everybody was colliding. You know, this Ready Player One world is something that we all dream of. And having multiple IPs that you have affinity for come together is really something that we're also striving for. It's also a statement as well on our part from building IP. Like we say quite often, you know, we're building something bigger than ourselves, you know, really trying to actually advocate for IP, both in Web2 and Web3. You know, and we're also eating our own dog food, because a lot of the products that we're trying to build is more than just for us. It's also about trying to build for Web2 IP, traditional, you know, all the OG IP and new IP, also Web2 and Web3 IP, and have business models that can be scalable. And if we ourselves build our own IP, we can also leverage that and also eat our own dog food and apply it to those business models as well. So the IP aspect is very important. It's one as well that we know we want to make sure as well that we try to do it in the best way possible. So, you know, we have, you know, one of our advisors, he's also editor-in-chief at Manga as well. He's helping us write and edit the script and you know, the lore around it. And we're working with mangaka that is obviously recommended to try to build out the story and you know, do all the artwork and whatnot. So, you know, we are trying to do it properly and really, you know, I'm a consumer. I love watching anime and reading manga, but I'm not a writer. You know, as much as I feel like my ideas are great, like it's not a professional standpoint. So having that opportunity to do that is definitely, you know, not only a lot of fun, but also great to watch as well. And then, you know, the other area in terms of partnerships, as I mentioned before, you know, I guess there's a couple of things that we're trying to do with regards to IP. You know, one is officially licensing, you know, anime IP at the moment, or Japanese IP, and trying to bring it into Web3. And it's definitely been a challenging feat, you know, because for many different reasons. I think traditionally working with IP and licensing, especially in Japan, is just challenging in and of itself. But then also trying to do it in a way where we're bringing them into Web3 is also challenging as well. I mean, the industry as a whole, they're excited about the technology. It's just that there's no precedence for it. So it's really difficult to sometimes visualize what it is that the technology is going to be doing to actually help grow the industry. So a lot of times, you know, we're trying to rework contracts and you know, leverage off existing contracts to tweak it so that it can work for the new world. But in a lot of cases as well, trying to actually build and show exactly what it is we're trying to do so that we can then move the needle forward in that regard. And then the other side of things is, you know, the Cool Cats announcement, which I think you alluded to before, working with IP, you know, arguably as well, we have, you know, a pretty good reach and network within the East. So being able to help projects that we see have great potential, that can potentially, you know, ultimately be sub-licensed out, and actually, you know, we can work with them to help them grow and, you know, reach wider audiences within that region is something that we're also working to do as well.
Got it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was an acquisition or it's a strategic investment of sorts. I was like, what is that Cool Cats announcement? But whatever it was pretty cool. So, and not only Cool Cats, we see Only One Force, you know, within your Weebox that you're including, and you're maybe more in the works. So, definitely cool to see you working with not only big name brands with IP and within Japan anime, but also, you know, in the Web3 world already. And you being a Zuki holder, maybe, you know, and the Zuki partnership might come out of this.
We'll see how we go. We'll see. I've got a pretty good relationship with the team, so we'll see how things play out.
Has there been any SanFran Tokyo? So
Sure.
there is a SanFran Tokyo. There's no issues with that, right?
Not
You know about that?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, you know, Baymax and Big Hero 6 was, you know, I love the movie. You know, I think that but having said that, you know, I think that one of the things that we mulled over in terms of actually calling it SanFran Tokyo was what is it at the time? What is it that we were trying to represent? You know, we love the idea of having you know, the innovative sort of association with what SanFran Tokyo was and what it, you know, what it was known for, and then also everything that we love about the East and that convergence of the two. It just made so much sense, and we mulled over it for a long time trying to figure out, okay, what other name could better represent that and we just, for the life of us, couldn't think of anything else that could better represent that. So we went to our legal counsel and said, hey, this is what we want to do. What do you think? And, at the end of the day, she said, look, it's fine. There's, you guys are doing something completely different. We, being inspired is one thing, but at the end of the day too, we haven't taken anything from any other sources, from any of the other references in that. So from us, we're totally fine. Ready to back it.
I have so many questions, but Brian, feel free to jump in, Brian. I know I was just jumping ahead here with every question I have.
Well, the question I have, Joe's a huge fan of the project, and he's been talking it up for so long, and I've been following as closely as I can. Tell me a little bit about the San Fran Tokyo Genesis Pass and what people get access wise, and what that pass gives you, and what type of connection that might have with the Visions PFP.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good question. So, as I mentioned before, the Genesis Pass initially was a bit of an experiment. We wanted to see what that Venn diagram looked like between Web3 natives and also anime fans. So it was actually an application gated process, which meant that we asked questions around, what was people's favorite anime, and if they have a My Anime List account, could they link their account so we could have a look at what they've been watching, or what how long the account's been in existence for. And it was pretty easy to actually tell, what was botted and what wasn't. So I feel like, after manually sort of going through and vetting all of those applications, I think we received about 14,000 applications.
Wow.
And mind you, this was sort of in the depth of the bear as well. So it was a pretty quiet time. I feel like we built a pretty strong community on the back of that, but it was a free mint. I think what we've sort of planned, it was a 2,000 supply, but what we planned for that. Sorry, the rain. I don't know if you guys can hear the rain now, but it's getting pretty loud for me. So that's
good.
awesome. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't hear it either.
Really?
Zoom.
It's
Zoom's
yeah. So anyway, so the application gated process, we minted and it minted out pretty much immediately. So that was really successful. But considering it's a free mint as well, we weren't really expecting it not to. But since then, the idea of the Genesis Pass, you can sort of think of it as a studio pass. It's ultimately the pass that we're going to give all the benefits to in the long run. What we're building with the Anime Foundation, with Weebox, and any other future partnerships as we continue to roll out. How it's connected with Visions is that the Genesis Pass has since evolved into these power bands, and there's 3 different tiers, but the bands themselves, they're not unique. As a Genesis or Studio Pass, they're there to provide the highest level of perks and utility back to the people that believed in us from the very beginning. So we've been wanting to, for a very long time, build out a PFP collection, because we wanted to actually grow the community and have a way to give people an identity. But it also leads into what we're doing with the foundation as well. So the Visions collection itself rolls back into this idea of sort of anime reputation and identity, which we're sort of wrapping around, the greater ecosystem.
nice. I didn't get a rare Genesis band. I'm not mad at that. But I do have the lowest tier band that was revealed, so I'm excited to at least be in the game.
100%.
But yeah, knowing that it's going to have longevity within the ecosystem is great to hear. And I can't wait for a sneak peek of the Visions, because just with the bands, you guys are absolutely on the up and up with the collaborations, with partnerships that most people cannot even get in contact with. And that's something that makes me excited about SanFran Tokyo, is because you guys aren't there by proxy. Well, maybe you're in Australia now, but the CEO, he's in Japan. He's also the CEO of Animoca. And can you tell us about that? How's that been, working with the CEO who's also a CEO of Animoca Japan?
Yeah, for sure. It's Japan's a weird and wonderful place. I love going to Japan, and you mentioned you're going back soon as well, right? So I love the country. I love the culture, and Japan. I love the work ethic as well in Japan. I think that their attention to detail is something to be admired. And I think that because of that as well, they're very sought after in terms of business relations. But the reality is as well, it's very difficult to build strong business relations. A lot of it is based on relationships, and a lot of it is based on friendships that have developed over many, many years. So having that opportunity to, for Daisuke anyway, to, sort of be at the helm of that has definitely opened up a lot of doors. He himself is a very successful businessman in Japan as well. So he's a bit of a celebrity in that he's an author. He also IPO'd Japan's first digital life insurance company called LifeNet. He, after sort of finishing that, he started a collection, and then Animoca was actually basically led both rounds for that investment. And then over the years, they then tapped him on the shoulder to then head up the Japan subsidiary. So we're very, very lucky, very fortunate to have that, I guess, and have Daisuke in our corner. But having the opportunity to, when we go over there, also to work closely with the Animoca Japan team and also the Hong Kong team has given us not only strategically a much broader range of scope to try to really dream bigger, but also then having the resources as well to be able to go to the legal team at Animoca or go to the tokenomics team and actually sit down with them and workshop through things. So it's been incredibly beneficial. And, I think that we're in a very fortunate position.
Nice. Yeah, I imagine it to Chinese culture in China, where, it's all about relationships, just like you mentioned. And that's probably why a lot of things haven't happened, within Japan, the Japanese brands, although a lot of people wanted to mimic, the success of anime, they haven't really gotten the partnerships that you guys have. And just to shout it out, Afro Samurai, Ghost in the Shell, both IPs have come to American culture, with Samuel L. Jackson, and I think, I forgot that actress name. But yeah. So you guys are definitely have the resources, and the company to really roll out something big here. Can you tell us, a little bit about the token that's coming out? Like because right now the meta in NFT land is always, what's the new meta? Like, what's the new trend? Everyone's gonna jam it in. I don't think that you guys are just doing it, without a lot of thought. So I know that there is a token coming out, and I believe it's the Manga one, right? It's not the anime Suzuki, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So can you tell us? We saw what Bored Apes are trying to do. They launched a token, it fell flat, and I imagine that not many people want that to happen, right? They want success, they want it to serve a purpose. Definitely makes sense in terms of loyalty. Definitely for anime, I would see in terms of digital. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it kind of fits in the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I'm going to be careful how much I talk about here, just primarily because, try to stay out of jail. I think that's probably the main thing. So maybe edit that out. But the foundation side of things is interesting. I think that all official announcements come out of the foundation, but Animoca Japan, Animoca HQ, SanFran Tokyo, we've all come together as initial strategic launch partners for the Anime Foundation. And the initiative for the foundation ultimately is to build out an ecosystem to power global anime culture. What that actually means is there's going to be several products that will build an ecosystem to essentially do multiple things that will be beneficial not only for consumers, for anime fans, but also to find value back and give that value back to the industry as well. One of the things I can talk about, I guess, is building out, I guess, anime reputation. As a metric for trying to measure, us as consumers, trying to find, ways to look at on-chain metrics to also give other platforms a way to leverage from to also enhance experiences, but also potentially to, let's say, token gate their own experiences. But, if we think about some of the on-chain metrics that's built today, there's a lot of farming going on, but there's also a lot of other things that we do as consumers. Like we watch Netflix, or we watch Crunchyroll, we read manga, or we might buy figurines, or we might go to conventions, or we might even just commission artwork. As a fan, how do you actually measure that? And there could be multiple different sources, both Web2 and Web3, in which you're contributing to that. So, if you were to find the aggregate of that score, what would that aggregate look like? And, should you you know, a lot of provenance these days is mainly based around, you know, how much money someone might actually have or how much they've actually spent. But that's not the only metric, right? The provenance of actual value of what you've purchased doesn't necessarily determine that you're actually a massive consumer of anime. So having a system that can actually look at that and can more accurately reward that, both to consumer and industry and, you know, studios or publishers, and you know, it opens up a lot of doors, you know, and it's one way to use that technology as well that we're all so excited about to, you know, have, you know, on-chain data that can actually, you know, truly represent what a person's fandom actually looks like on chain. So that is one thing that's pretty exciting. And the other, I guess, exciting part about it is at the moment we have a lot of Web3 data that's getting put on chain. You know, like it's all about Web3 projects, it's all about dApps, it's all about DeFi and all that sort of stuff. But we don't have as many Web2 platforms and to data entering that. You know, so we've got some announcements coming out where we're going to be trying to do more of that. You know, how do we get more of what we're doing outside of Web3 on chain, so that we can actually get this data in ways that can be, you know, a lot more valuable to us as consumers.
Yeah, that's great. I actually have a personal experience, you know, from that. You know, I go to a lot of cons, wait in a lot of lines for a lot of, you know, physical goods. And, you know, if there was a way to measure loyalty, I think, you know, like you mentioned, on chain or off for Web2, that would be great, because, you know, a lot of people spend a lot of time and energy, but at least with Web3, you can track somewhat of, you know, a loyalty and you know, provide some upside with a little piece of ownership, you know, whatever if it's even called ownership. So yeah, that's awesome. It makes a lot of sense to me. I'm excited to, you know, to see that roll out. Well, I have a lot more questions, but we're going to save that for like round 2, because we're just going to dive deeper and deeper here. Last question, just wrap things up, is, you know, what do you have in store for the rest of the year? What does success look like for you guys in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, we're working, like we're really excited about the PFP, because I think, again, like it's something that we've been looking forward to. We've been very pedantic about the art, so that's one thing as well. As sort of anime fans, like we want to, obviously I'm repping Azuki now, but I'm going to have to change it at some point to represent the community. So I'm excited about that, but at the same time too, a bit formal.
All right, everyone, we had a little hiccup with power, but we got DT back, which is great. He was busy answering, you know, how he was going to close out, you know, the year. But you guys, we're so happy to have DT. We're going to have him back on in the future. But DT, tell us where we can find you guys and where we can connect with you best. Is it Weebox? Is it Collections? Is it SanFran Tokyo? How do people connect and follow the project?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about before as well. But connect via Twitter. Twitter is usually the best place. But jump into our Discord as well. So the community is pretty active. Young jumped in there a fair bit. I jump in from time to time. We have a channel in there where people can ask questions and we'll jump in to answer them every few days. But yeah, Twitter is usually the best place. But yeah, I'm excited to come back on at some point and continue to share more. I know today's been a bit rushed, but excited to talk about all this stuff as usual.
Awesome. We know that you're just getting started. Literally, your vision project hasn't been launched yet, and the token that we talked about. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have you back on for sure. So thank you so much for hopping on.
No, I appreciate all the support. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.